Right, so it's the 21st of March 2025, and I got a bit pissed last night because I had more drink than usual, and I opened quite a few cans of beer. So I think there's 6 I opened in total, and then you've got to take into account I had 2 while I was out as well, and 2 5CL vodkas, but most of those ones that I opened when I got back, I tipped half out or put water in, or a quarter out or whatever, so I didn't have the amount that I opened, but I still had a lot. I've been known to drink more than that, so you know, when it comes to beers. I also smoked about 15 roll-ups, some without filter tips and some with. I seemed to wanted to get some form of nicotine rush, or whatever you want to call it. You know, I just had the urge to smoke some roll-ups, so that's a bit naughty of me as well. This morning the burning's been very bad. There's been a couple of loud bike issues, and eventually I decided to go out, but it's a bit of a piss off day because obviously it's a sunny day, but they're doing it in a way where they're circling me with the sunshine. But the problem is I'm sweating, soaking wet in sweat, but a lot of that's because of the alcohol that I had last night. So this morning, because obviously I had a hangover, there was a couple more loud bike issues. There was a 2-hour period of persistent burning, more loud bikes. So when I go out, firstly is a started car that drives off with the wind direction going my way from the catalytic converter that's on that car. Then there's a robbery looking, a red white car, as to say, dead right. Then catalytic converter control, a smashed glass looking t-shirt, a phone call made in my ear, so someone needs to make a phone call and it's in my ear when they make the phone call. 9 started cars, and then back goes another catalytic converter. Nice, having a break in said. Bonus, a motorbike. Cell call at me. 7 more, and then when I walk out of the shop there's 6 catalytic converters that reverse at me or are started. Getting bashed in just. Getting burgled said. Car trying to smash into me from behind. I walk into someone that looks like they got a very disgusting appearance in face, like sick. Like sick on the floor, and this person was acting unhygienic, and I had to be prepared because she was about to sneeze, cough. I don't know what she was going to do. Luckily she didn't. Then they time rough people in my direction. There's a couple of people that photographed me. Red white car again, cell call at me, white, yellow sexual car, bonus a motorbike and sexual car, blue sexual car with light on in my direction. Going across the bridge, we've got heavy setups this morning, so this afternoon, sorry, so I had to take the same route as I did yesterday because there's no way I could take the road because you have about 300 or 400 cars. So in about 3 minutes there are 60 cars roughly colliding on the bridge, over the bridge. The seagull says liar, seagull says bash you in, ha ha ha. I drop all this paper that I'm writing stuff down, and the crow goes ha ha ha. There's 7 more catalytic converter controlled setups at the catalytic converter hot point, so that means like a car's timed on that one. Time to an itchy bump hole means 9 times loud bike. Right, so this windy weather's starting to cause a lot of fucking shit today, so I'm having everything fucking fall out my bag, everything fucking blowing everywhere, because this weather needs to be done in this pattern. Might be coincidence, but whatever. It seems to be very, very windy, I've noticed lately. And when it's really cold and windy, you know, this is why I'm getting fucking migraines and whatever. And when you've got energy weapons being used at your place where you're burning very badly, you can do without this. The bastard wants to start war, so, okay, I'm taking my liquor with me, I can't put it in the fireplace. I'll take it with me, Christ, and if it spills in my bag, all the drink goes in my bag. Ha! So funny, isn't it, Christ, you stupid bastard? Right, because the creator god's a fucking crest bastard. A crest bastard. And see, a crow goes, yeah, it's funny, Christ. You're fucking buckled. You're just absolutely a slam, nasty fucking bastard, Christ. Sick just said from the distance. Right, yesterday I mentioned I won't be going to a specific area, which is Paviot's Mill, so and that I wouldn't be going to the Spar shop again, but it looks like you can't buy anything in the shops in Yeovil, so I'm going to have to face going to that Spar shop, and if I walk into that person that had an argument with me yesterday, there's going to be fucking hell to pay, because obviously the creator God wants to cause this. God wants to put me in this situation, and he wants to slam these nasty bastards in my face. Well, what he did yesterday, because obviously the creator God's just a cruelty cunt, a fucking sexual slaughter fucking tearaway, an ice axing, smashing glass, sharp edge plate of glass, smash through your fucking heart, or the same with ice, or gets a fucking mallet or an ice axe to smash you right through the fucking, you know, through the ice into the cold water. But also the bastard wants to fire stake you with a raw burning penetration of raw fire and raw hell, and the bastard wants to tear you to fucking pieces, tear me to fucking pieces, in pain, with fire, to burn like a piece of shit. So that's the way Jehovah, Yahweh or Allah treats people. The bastard can't help it. The bastard's just possessed, and the bastard's just a cruelty cunt that fucking sex slaughters people and rips people to fucking pieces and causes all the trouble to backfire at the innocent. Anyway, after I passed that person yesterday, after the argument, and I did that little bit of graffiti, it wasn't much, it's basically moaning about Jesus Christ. Because the way I'm being fucking treated all the time. And this bloke had an argument with me, so I went to photograph him. He said, "Why are you fucking photographing me?" And he said he's going to fucking knock me out and all the rest of it. Well, straight after that, I walked into to fuck's sake, yes, it's a van, Christ, it's a catalyst. I walked into a sexual lady. So this lady was about the age of early 20s, and looked basically near enough identical to how Olivia Binfield would look, who is a celebrity that went on Britain's Got Talent many years ago, holding her pet snake Lucy when she was a child. And this lady actually smiled as she passed me. Eric's very busy this afternoon. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, where they do that, they always cause arguments to occur, and then they deliberately time sexual looking or single women in my direction in that specific area, knowing it's not an area that I can go back, or an area where I have to be careful because of where people are starting. They do it all the time. There's a control method to be sneaky, to be sly, and to try and get me smashed to pieces. Right, so like yesterday, and it happened many times yesterday, they're controlling me with a catalytic converter. Nothing you can do about it, because the creator is buckled. The creator is just a malicious bastard. The bastard wants me taken to fucking pieces. That blue car has been timed to be smashed over a drain cover. But as I walk past that drain cover to the split second, because what God wants to tell me is he wants to tell you, your life's down that fucking drain, and we'll get it into your fucking ears and make it fucking clear by smashing the drain cover over that your life's down that fucking drain, you bastard. That's the way the creator God works, because he's a nasty bastard. Right, so I'm being choked out by a catalytic converter. I can't smell today. My smell is worse today than what it was yesterday. And for the last 4 days, it seems to be getting worse than better. However, my physical symptoms from the flu or the chest infection that's occurred, which is naughty of me smoking 15 roll-ups last night, but, you know, it just doesn't go, you know, chest infection or flu doesn't go, and I think it's a flu. So, last 4 days I've not been able to taste my food properly either, but it's actually worsening. The smell and the food taste is actually worsening. So, yeah, we're going for a stage of that at the moment. And obviously the reason I'm at Barrack is, obviously you know that, it's because of the burning problem. Except I had a hangover this morning, so I'm later than usual coming up here. So in a minute I've got to face that road. I didn't really want to go to the Spar shop, but there's no option, because quite simply, when I went into the wine shop to buy a small bottle of vodka or Zambuca or Jägermeister, they don't do it, or they don't sell it. None of them, none of those three. so I've got to do, you know, what I'm going to do in a minute. But then again, I might not drink it. It's just you know, because obviously it's weekend and obviously it turns rough, and you know, assuming I don't go for the extra beers tonight like I did last night, and I should be alright, because spirits have less calories than beer, and beer makes you feel a bit more ill than if you have spirits, even though spirits are slightly more dangerous because they can rot your liver more quicker. You know, I do like to have my spirits now and again. I'm quite often using the bin in the graveyard. So it's one that belongs to the church. Well, I've never actually filled that bin up before, but because you're lacking bins where you can put your rubbish when you've had something to eat, whatever, you know, and I'm up barrack every day now because of the burning problem at home, and also the eye problem was occurring, by the way, last night, so that was quite bad as well. But anyway, the issue with the bin, I bought some black bags so that when eventually the bin becomes full, I can replace the bag and tie the other bag up and put it down by the side, ready for collection, where the people take their rubbish to. Obviously that was yesterday when the rubbish collection came, but you know, I can always leave it there. There's only another 6 days before, you know, they get the next clearance. Right, so you've had a pull the boy van, big enough to cope lorry. Something else was written on that lorry. It's like a grocery store lorry, I can't remember what one it is. Black and blue, a couple of more cars, grey, penis ups and motorbike timed, and a sexual car. And obviously I've just come off that roundabout, as always. There we are, started catalyst. Right, they do it 24/7, it's like yesterday. So I'm down that road where there's usually hardly any cars, or there's supposed to be. It's sort of 1 hour or 45 minutes without a car. But you have had a Lloyd van. Right, I just want to mention something with the name Lloyd. I know someone called Paul Lloyd, and he was someone I knew at school years and years ago, kind of a friend, kind of not a friend at the same time. But when it comes to sexuality or anything like that, I've never had sex with that person. There's been 2 sexual cars, and someone's just walked out of this path with a one of the 2, t-shirt or jumper, thin jumper, saying it's your lucky day after a sexual car. Going back to the Lloyd van, obviously it can make other suggestions apart from this Paul Lloyd, because obviously there's a Lloyd that at North Peverton, who is someone my cousin Matt knows now, believe it or not. Now, I didn't really know him. I knew he had an older brother, I think it's Owen or something like that, and I saw him on a regular basis at North Peverton, but I didn't really get into conversation or anything like that, because obviously he was a lot younger than me at that time. So yeah, but he was in crowds of people that could be up to my age or older at times, going back in those days. But I didn't really hang around with many people, though I did have a couple of I call them fake friends, so they're not real friends, but friends that were getting on with me to some extent, including friends that were friends to Amy Weston, although that side of the family never liked me. And obviously I tried contacting, you know, hanging around with Callum, the younger brother, to try and get to re-know Amy, going back when I first moved to North Peverton for the second time around, back in the early 2000s, but that never took place, and things just broke off and got a bit nasty, or nastier, through time, and as it stands today things are sort of settled but not great. So yeah, Paul Lloyd though, he has been to my place, you know, years and years ago, back when I was living at North Petherton the first time around, when I was a child, back in 1992, 93 area, or whatever year it was. And he used to live at number 55 over the other side. And there was a load of toys I used to give him, my toys, you know, that I didn't want, or I just had the feeling I wanted to. I don't know why I did it really. Yeah, I did that years ago as well. And obviously, you know, he remembers me. Last time I saw him would have been about 15 years ago. He was in a car with some boy racers, and they beat the horn, and he put his hand up and as to say all right, and that's basically the last time I seen him. Right, so obviously going back to the last setup, there was some sexual cars after the Lloyd van, and it's your lucky night or something like that. I can't remember what it said now. I did write it down, so it's on the other sheet, but I got the other sheet now. There's been a few animal voice sounds. So Seagull said shot dead and saying wheelchair, saying that I molested a specific name who I've never had sex with. I can't say the name because it will offend. Seagull says dangerous paedophile, and then after that there's a bloke that walks past, gives me a comical look. It's like one of those intelligent looks, like you clever little shit, you know, sort of like that sort of look, like I know what you're up to, or sort of, it's like that, but it's like a funny sort of comical look. So I don't know why he's doing that, but yeah, that's what occurred. Right, so there's smoke from farm machinery, because obviously I can smell the catalyst. Again, because my breathing's out of place because of flu or chest infection or whatever it is, I can't actually smell it properly. But no offence, this flu, I've had it for 9 days, but it was actually 9 days ago where I was put in bed. So I came back when I was still at my mum's from going out, had an hour or 2 hours sleep. When I woke up I couldn't get out of bed hardly, and I felt really, really ill. And that lasted for right through into the next day. The next day I managed to manoeuvre a little bit. However, I didn't feel great, but there were days where I went out, but I could still smell things and I could still taste my food. All this occurred roughly from Saturday last week onwards, and this just got worse and worse. So it's one of those flus that doesn't seem to be wanting to go very quickly. Setups have dropped a little bit, so I managed to get past down to this part, and there's only been 3 cars, and I've been walking down here for 3 minutes, but there is one suggestion. There seems to be a lot of sexual love-making suggestions at the moment, but the problem is, when they suggest this, nothing ever comes true. So you had love-making with a couple of like cartoon character baby sort of pictures that are kissing and cuddling on the back of a car sticker type thing. Right, so a robbery looking vehicle walking out the shop, a Lullababy car, a Tesco van, white and blue car, dog barks child molester, you. After that there was a lady aged about 70 that was pushed my way, but of the severe handicap type. Obviously they can't help it, but I'm writing it down as a setup or a suggestion to what happens next, because obviously there's a Gemma Ferguson lookalike that follows that. So in some ways they're saying, you're a spastic, have you thought that you can have sex with Gemma? Well, I mentioned this the other day, she's turned against me, she doesn't like me because of the age. They can't see that. Anyway, this person's a little bit older than Gemma, so she's about 50, maybe 55, something like that. And also, considering this person's in her 50s, she does actually have quite smooth skin, smoother than Gemma in fact. Especially while looking at her face. I don't know what her body looks like though, because obviously she's got clothes on and respectably dressed. Right, so then you have grey white. A car reverses at me. I couldn't make out what the threat was, but something was said and it sounded like full of tin, weirdo said. Then penis shoots up some 9 times loud bike timed. Right, so I've just been on that road where you can have 45 minutes or even an hour without a single car, but when I reach a road, obviously there's 3 cars in my direction. I don't know how this is occurring, and it's happened all the time, every time, since I first started going on that road, back in the late summer of 2024. Every time it's like the roundabout, where the cars suddenly become heavy when I reach there, and then after I pass it goes quiet again. I don't know how this is occurring, but it is, and it's been every single time. I don't think there has been a single time where there's been hardly any traffic, and it's always been rigged up and controlled around me in that busy way. Taking a very chancy walk towards Placket. Yesterday I was nearly smashed to fucking pieces and beat up by someone who was not very fucking happy with me, and I'm a little bit nervous about going there, because obviously this person could take me out easy because he's a lot harder build than me, and also he's a rough, unsafe type fucking person with a sexual girlfriend. Now I'm only going there now because I want to take a picture of something, but once I've taken that picture of that building with the old lights on it, there'll be no way will I be going back down in that area. I mean, I don't like risking the spar shot because that person could go in that direction, but it's a lot less risky than where I'm going at this minute in time, and it's going to be a very final walk I do just to get that picture. Even though it's sunny, I want to get it out of the way. Right, so a boner occurs, and then 1 motorbike, 2 motorbike and 3 motorbike timed with a grey car. But as I reach that road where there's a 45-minute period or an hour without a single vehicle, because obviously this road goes around, I just cut through the field because there's a quicker way to do it. They needed to time another 2 cars again. Right, so my penis shoots up and a loud bike, and before that someone shouts, "Break in!" Right, so they're knocking my penis about with a loud bike, persistently, and I wanted to take a picture of something, but there's a lot of activity around, so it's making it very difficult. So there just seems to be a persistent flow of digging into my fucking penis, like a wheel rubbing up and down the back of my penis, or the front of my penis should I say, tying to erections, and they just will not fucking stop it. And the other thing that's occurred is a bird has said, "Yeah, Amy Weston." Well, the problem is I've never had sex with Amy Weston, and then there's a few voice sounds, but I couldn't make out what they were because I was too busy concentrating on writing stuff down as I was leaving the area where I wanted to take a picture. But unfortunately I couldn't do it because there was people about. Got this problem, it started raining. We had this the other day. So what they did the other day is when it was sunny, they were causing it to rain at the same time, and obviously that sun did not go across any clouds, and when it did rain, that rain lasted for about half an hour, persistently with the sun being out, and there was a similar incident a couple of days before, and at times here and there throughout the last few days. So I'm stuck in a heavy rainstorm. But it's not heavy, but it's heavy-ish, but it's that really wet fucking rain, so I'm not very happy, because obviously it's either sunshine or it's rain. There isn't overcast days anymore, and it's being done in a sneaky way. So I've had a couple of people saying, "Hey, it's gone, you're being smashed in, but with that, we got to bring out that, Christ, the fucking do this, do that." But you're the fucking one that's doing it, Christ. You're the one that's fucking putting me in this situation. You're the one that's smashing that fucking rainstorm on my fucking head, you bastard. You're the one that wants to fucking drench me. You coward, you fucking crotty cunt, Christ. You're the one that's causing shit. You're the one that needs to choke me with a catalytic converter to apply sex with a granny. You're the one that needs to shit stir, Christ. You're the one that needs to be a beefy bastard, Christ. So they're bearded types of people, as you expect. Right, so the van doesn't just want to come there or go there, it needs to pass me, and it has a catalytic converter on it, Christ. A catalyst, Christ, catalyst. So the gas is going to go in my face, I'm going to inhale gas, I'm going to be choked by a catalyst, Christ. Catalytic converter, Christ. A catalyst, Christ. You fucking buckled bastard. Right, so I've been choked out by a catalyst, her crow says smashed out, and then obviously as I walk past someone on their phone, they got a web page up saying positive sexual attraction as they walk past me. Right, so I've left Placket, and it's the last time I'm going to be going to Placket, because obviously yesterday someone wanted to attack me who is 4 times my build and obviously much rougher than me, and he wanted to smash me to fucking pieces, so I'm not going to be taking that risk going there again. I managed to get the pictures I wanted to get. Obviously they're not great, but they're acceptable, and obviously I got the place name wrong because I said it's Pavios Mill yesterday, but it's actually Placket. However, I can still risk the Spa shop because I've never seen this person down that path that goes to the Spa shop. It's a bit of a risk, but every time I see this person, it's usually at Placket, and most times I've gone to Placket, I've seen this person. So, you know, I'm not going to take that chance anymore. Right, so 2 young females have just passed me, and yeah, in some ways what they said is true, but they could have worded it better. They said that chap we just passed, he looks like he's suffering badly and needs a fuck. So, yeah, when you're not had it all your life, that's usually the case with most men. So, but that's what was just been said. Right, so I reached a dead end road, and there's 2 cars. I reached a road where there can be an hour or 45 minutes without a single car, and obviously they timed a car there as well. Right, so it's been another 10 or so. However, if we go back to when I was in the field, there wasn't a single car on this road like usual. It says black sick Christ, black red on top of this Christ. Yes, it's catalytic converter Christ. On the same fucking road still. I'm still on this road, and there's been another 10 plus cars. So they're doing it on purpose. Yes, it's done deliberate Christ. Yes, deliberate Christ. Controlled around me because it's got a catalytic converter on it Christ. And the bastards are finally fucking finding another one. They want me gassed out. I'm gassed Christ. I'm gassed. Right, I'm a catalyst. Because you're making me a catalyst. You're doing it to be spiteful Christ. Oh, we are to war man van. Yes, they want war. Right, hang on, I need to get a photograph of that. Yeah, it's a war. Right, so obviously all the catalytic converters start, they stop up all the traffic, they make a fucking mayhem as soon as they get to the roundabout. Every single car's in a black and fucking blue-white pattern. Sexual, you fucking name it. The creator's absolutely fucking menacing. Right, so I'm now on the Barrack Road. We've had the first 4 cars. Take into account before a few days ago, the record-breaking amount of cars for this section is only 10 cars if that. Right, so made it with 17, so 17 cars, which is the record-breaking number a couple of days ago, and in the graveyard turning now, there's obviously a started catalyst that's coming out there as well. That shouldn't be occurring either. Every time I come up and down this little track that goes to 2 houses only, there's always a car time with a catalytic converter. Right, so I've got gas, because I've got to inhale gas, catalytic converter, because that's what God wants me to inhale. Right, so a crow has just said 30, ha. Right, so I got a sore throat that's fucking worsening. I had one yesterday, but it subsided, but possibly because I had alcohol. So despite all the negative setups with catalytic converter, the actual suggestion today has been pretty positive. So they're applying that I'm going to get sex with a sexy person and that I'm going to enjoy sex. So it'd be interesting to see if, for the first time ever in my whole life, whether I do get someone I can fancy that's sexy to enjoy sex with. If that's what they're applying, I mean, you've had the information that's on the smartphone, you've had the jumper or t-shirts in my direction, and also you've had stickers in cars and many other things like that. So is it going to come true or what? So they just timed about 15 cars on that road, and lorries, and small lorries that is, and vans, to chuck me out with a catalytic converter. So what's happened is, the rain has pushed me off my seat, and I've got to sit by the church to keep dry. Right, so I've been out about 2.5 hours, and I just want to mention the burning problem, how I'm feeling, whatever. So at the moment I feel really bad. So about as bad as when the burning was bad late last year, and I had to go out and do a 111 course, so I feel as bad as that actually. Yeah, and then obviously earlier on it was even worse, and obviously this is the reason I have to go to Barrack every day to stay out, because obviously I'm going to have to keep on doing this until eventually this problem stops so I can move from my place. And obviously you had the eye problem as well again last night. Right, so I'm stuck here with my penis being sexually excited, with loud bikes being punished to it, just persistently. But I can't do nothing because it won't stop raining. Right, in 2023, about 200 or so would be your daily limit for that road. We've had that in about the last 45 minutes, and I'm just being choked out by a catalytic inverter, and also I'm being forced to have loud bikes to erections and a load of animal voice sounds as well. Right, so the record-breaking amount of cars on that road goes back to, I think it's last Saturday, of about 500. If it was 600, roughly, then that would be double the record-breaking amount in the whole past for any cars on that road, as 300 is the maximum in one day. But that's for the whole day. When these 500 occurred that last Saturday, that is in a matter of less than 2 hours. I can't remember the exact time. So, you know, it's all being stepped up. I thought 2024 was being stepped up, but it was since mid-November, but now it's got really nasty. Right, I had two dreams last night and I thought I'd mention them, even though they're not really irrelevant. I think it's because it included one of the staff workers at supported housing where I live. So obviously I was ill, had a hangover, had a headache, and both dreams were pretty much the same basically, so it could have been the takeoff of one dream, and then I woke up and went back to sleep, and then it was a repeat of the previous dream continuing. But yeah, so Bex, also known as Rebecca, and obviously I can't give her a surname, you know, for legal reasons, was lying on the floor next to me, and we were chatting here and there, but I can't remember what we were saying in the dream. And obviously it was in a room where there was a load of other people, and there was obviously spiral stairs or something like that went down or whatever, and basically that was my dream. Right, that track seems to be very busy today. I've seen about 20 vehicles either come in or come out of that track, and you've got to take into account there's only two houses or two places where people live at the end of that track, which is in the graveyard part of Barrack. Right, so a seagull says dangerous paedophile, a bird says knife you dead meat, someone says molested Sadie Dando, shot dead Justin, but it's said in a way where they feel happy about it, and to make it sound like you done wrong and like they're pleased. 8 times loud bike tied to an erection, itchy bumhole, so 2 times loud bike, a helicopter, but it seems quite a loud helicopter, and on the side of a van there's the picture of a dog, but they've designed the dog picture to look like it's a sexy sort of dog in the way they designed the drawing on the side of the van. I just want to mention, when I mention the loud bike issue, a lot of it's quite personal, you know, what I mention. Well, the reason I mention it is because I am actually getting very, very pissed off about it. And how the doctor found out, or the psychiatric doctor found out, is because when it was happening, just before I moved up Burnham-on-Sea, and I was getting very, very uptight about it, and getting very unhappy about it, they saw it on Facebook, and that's how it came about. And then obviously I thought, oh, well, if they know about that now, I thought, yeah, this is very embarrassing, but at the same time I was very annoyed, because obviously, you know, it is annoying people, and it's not only me that's had this experience. I have actually found out that there's another person, but I'm not going to say who it is, but this person does not mention it hardly at all, but has experienced this issue with a loud bike. However, this person's only ever mentioned it once, so obviously not good. That person, incidentally, is a normal, sane person, not anyone with mental disabilities or anything like that. But I'm not going to say the name, because obviously I don't want to get this person in trouble, embarrassed, or people taking the mickey out of this person or whatever. So I'm just going to keep quiet about that. But there is someone else that has experiences and mentioned it once to me. Right, so at the moment, they just seem to be pissing about, timing a loud bike like a wheel, rubbing up and down under my penis, tying to sexual impulses to erection, and I'm getting fucking fucked off with it. They just will not stop it. As you can hear. They just will not stop it. And I'm getting a little bit pissed off of it. This has been going on since 2008. It was around the time of when the Fathers for Justice event took place in London. that's when I sort of noticed the beginning stages of the bike issue. However, I've been thinking back to 2003, and I was wondering whether it was occurring then, but I'm not 100% sure. If it was for a short period of time, and I didn't take much notice of it, and obviously when it irritated me, it was like it died down, or it didn't last. But like I said, it's before I actually knew about the bike issue or started taking it seriously, where I was getting pissed off of it. But you've got to take into account, back in 2008 when it started, it was only half to 3/4 of the bikes on the road. And then since I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, there's a 3-year period where 2 of those years, even while visiting mums or going on holiday, they managed to construct every single loud bike that's on the road timed to erections or going to the toilet or to itchy whatever, with never a miss, and mapped out to be timed to every erection of that year, wherever I was, whatever time of day it was, whether it's Christmas Day, Boxing Day, or whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. They managed to construct my penis for every bike on the road of 2 of those years, and then another year, which was in the third, was only about 20 bikes or whatever that went past that weren't timed to erection. All the rest, all the thousands of other bikes were. Right, so I just seen that person who had the jumper on earlier, or the t-shirt, that says, "It's your lucky day," which occurred after a sexual car and a sexual setup. But the thing is, although it's very rare you get positive suggestions with the negative setups that are always around me, I don't understand why there is a setup to make positive suggestions on sexuality, because that doesn't seem normal. And also, usually when they make that suggestion, it usually comes with a setup to apply that they made a mistake, or they twist it into something else or whatever. Well, that hasn't happened today. It just seems to be like positive setups to apply sexuality, and this seems rather rogue. It seems rather dishonest. It seems suspicious, because, you know, when I get back later, 90% I will be uploading this video and I will have no sex and no partner, and I wouldn't have met up with anyone. So I don't know what's going on or what's causing it, but yes, it's nice to have that sort of suggestion, and it does make you feel a bit good, because obviously you're thinking to yourself, you never know, something could arrive, you know, or there could be a girlfriend or a sex partner tonight. But the problem is I don't think that anything like that is going to happen, because I'm too unlucky. So, but you know, if I did, or anything does occur, I will add it to this recording. And obviously if I did get a partner and I moved out of there, then obviously these recordings come to a stop anyway. Right, so another 2.5 hours has passed, so that brings you to 5 hours to when I mentioned how bad the burning was earlier on. So obviously at the moment it seems to be very slow going actually, so it's eased a little bit, but not really that much from the last video I did 2.5 hours ago. It seems to be holding on for some reason. It seems to be gripping, but you know, the longer you're out, usually the burning subsides. So whatever's been put into me, or whatever has been pumped through into me, seems to be taking quite a while this time to go. But you've got to take into account, when it occurs on a regular basis, it does take a lot longer to go. Right, so obviously it's getting a bit dark to actually see the setups now, but there has been a pink mini car, very sexual looking, like a girl racer car. I didn't see who was in there because I didn't bother looking, and it said Playboy on the side with rabbit heads and rabbit ears pictures on the car. As I was saying a little bit earlier on, these sexual setups are good, but unless the intercourse takes place, and with a sexy lady, to the suggestion that they're applying, then obviously it's meaningless. So why get people's hopes up with setups like that when it's not going to come true? I mean, it might come true, but it's unlikely. Right, so there's a row and there's been some shouting. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Right, so I reached the road, and obviously catalytic converter. It's all controlled, as always. Right, so the same as yesterday, the traffic flow coming to where I am now. Right, so you've had the purple sexy car. That's like a sexual looking car. There's like a purpley colour, and it's got like dark windows to match the colour, the purple of the car, but it's not. The windows are darker than the actual purple itself on the car. It's like a sexual looking colour, purple. So yeah, that's just occurred. I've been on this road about 5 more minutes and I'm quite shocked that there hasn't been a single car. The last time it was like this was 2023 and 2022, apart from the very first time, because the very first time in 2022 when I was coming up here, that road was packed and obviously you had the traffic flow heavy down here as well, so there's a possibility there's a diversion road closure or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, I've been about 5 minutes, maybe just over 5 minutes, and not a single vehicle, not a bike, not a person. That is extremely, and I mean that is extremely rare. Right, so I've had my first vodka, and as I cross the bridge, which is like a little stream that goes under, I come onto the next section, and I've just heard a child screaming, telling Dad to get off of that person, because obviously that child's being sexually molested. So I've had my other 5cl vodka shot. I bought a small bottle to refill them. So I'm having 2 or 3 tonight, so I'm being a bit greedy. But it's weekend and obviously the burning problem at my place is pissing me right off, because it's making me very ill. This is why I'm out every day. I can't enjoy days out, you know. I can't go on the bus or can't do anything like that, because I got to be prepared to go back at a latish time. So I'm basically there just to upload the day's problems, maybe have half hour on the internet, sort out pictures of whatever, of setups, and then quite simply I'm off to bed and I'm out the next day as early as possible, assuming I haven't got a hangover, to avoid the pain from burning. There's nothing I can do about it now, and I'm going to have to live the rest of my days like this until the council eventually move me. But the problem is they keep rejecting me on many bids that I've bidded on, and so have the housing associations. They've also rejected me on one just a couple of doors away from my dad's. And the previous people that were in there were oldish, but not that old, but a serious type of old people. But the people before that were a young couple, roughneck types of people, that got kicked out. But it did say on Home Finder that it was going to be prioritised for those who need wheelchair access. However, these people that were in there before the last lot did not need that. They were just a young couple with boyfriends or whatever that were rough, and that's that. I have noticed something. There seems to be some positive setups when it comes to sexuality, but I've just had a sort of think, you know, thinking about yesterday's setups and stuff like that. Actually, when I got to the end of the line, where it goes no further unless you take the main road half a mile or whatever, or quarter of a mile, however far it is to West Coker, I noticed that yesterday there seemed to be these sexual setups. So whether it's a build-up to a surprise that I'm not aware of, that's going to come into my life and surprise me, then I do not know. But it doesn't seem that bad today. But then again, if you look at the other setups that were occurring yesterday with the catalytic converter on a car, I mean, I was really ill with a flu, you see, or chest infection, and under normal circumstances I can sit there and take it, but being fucking ill as anything, I was just very edgy. I was just very short-tempered yesterday. So, you know, I just was in a right bloody mood. I just felt like that all day, and obviously that's why I sort of kicked off at that person that gave me the threats and whatever, and the graffiti. Actually, I tried to wipe off that graffiti that I did yesterday. I got some of it off, but you know, I did get in quite a bad mood, and obviously when I have done graffiti in the past, I have wiped it off, you know, especially if it's you know, caused by, you know, my moods or whatever. But so if just supposing there's a build-up of a sexual setup, then obviously who's it going to be and how's it going to happen, and will it be someone that's sexual? Because obviously, like I said before, I don't take to the negative type, and obviously with the suggestions or setups, they are suggesting good news for a sexual relationship. But if that was to take place, it'd be the first time in my whole life that I've ever been in a sexual relationship with a female, and I'm not making that up. The nearest to a female in my whole life is the £800 scam, where that Michael Jackson prostitute, who named herself Jeanette, did 6 moves on me just to rob me. And obviously she lied about her age, because she said she was 18 and wanted a man up to the age of 40 and no higher. And this is on Viva Street, and she found me on Viva Street. But unfortunately, she was only out there to scam me, and pretended to be, you know, wanted to get my money. And obviously the neighbours at my old place, or visitors, did actually make a conversation in the corridor to tell me that I'm mentally disabled, and you can see why he, you know, and he's not getting anyone, saying he's desperate. And they knew I fancied Gemma as well, but they said Gemma ain't going to do him and stuff like that, and said that it's caused by Oliver or Dan when this person scammed me. So she said she was 18, but she looked more like she was in her 20s, early 20s, so about the age of 22. She wasn't a very good looking person. I remember Lisa Pike, and you know I mentioned Lisa Pike being negative attraction. Lisa Pike would have been a bit younger when I knew her, but she had slightly smoother skin than this Michael Jackson prostitute, as I name it. So she's got like a look similar to Katie Derham, celebrity, mixed with basically what looks like my father. But that sounds a bit immature to put it like that. So I'd say a mixture of Katie Derham and a negative looking dark haired lady that has sort of rough skin or boils on her face, or that sort of attraction. She was definitely not a very attractive person, and obviously it was a setup. And obviously one of the people that had that conversation in the corridor in, you know, where I used to live, did actually say that this lady is actually bad looking, and saying it is a setup. Believe it or not, the neighbour that was doing this, and you know, that mentioned this in the corridor at my old place, was actually making gun sounds or doing a lot of banging up until that time. But after that sort of conversation took place, which I heard outside my door, this is why I won't give the name. I mean, I respect them for talking about it, because even if they did find out, because obviously what they're saying is true. And obviously I am mentally disabled, because obviously I have autism or whatever. So they are right, even though it sounds insulting, they are right. But quite literally, since our time period, there was no gun sounds, and there was no trouble at all from that neighbour or those neighbours in the whole time I was there until I actually left. All the issues occurred after that. So you had the new neighbour moved in, and you had the eye problem. But the eye problem did actually start, not as intense, but the eye problem did start before this Michael Jackson prostitute actually visited, you know, my place to scam me. Also, it was the same time period, several months before, where I had the very first threats where I was being mistaken as Savan. Now, I thought it was in December 2016, but looking at my deep depression life story packs, it appears it's December 2017. Whatever year it was, before that time, I was never mistaken as Savan, and I've never been mistaken as that person right through my whole life. And when it initially started, it came from a bit of a negative source, because obviously Dan, my ex-mugger from years ago, he doesn't do this now, and obviously he can pass me in the street normally. There was a few issues just before I moved, and there was an issue going back when I was camping back in 2023, where someone had a plastic glove on and a snake top, and made me feel worried, and people were mistaking me as Sven, and it was and I think he was there with them, but no problems occurred, though I was in a situation where I nearly had to call the police because of how threatened I felt. But instead I phoned my dad, and obviously I just sort of hanged around there for a couple of hours, and then I went back to my tent and took my tent to a different destination in the same sort of area, but in a safer location. When I was living there, I only had to move my tent once, and it was in the first couple of weeks of when I was camping, when I was camping on Barrow Sand Dunes. This time round I had to move my tent every time I was camping, and I was being threatened to be knifed, smashed in, beaten up and whatever. The amount of people that have mistaken me as Sven has changed dramatically since I lived there. And you've got to take into account, back in 2023 I was at King's Cliff, and just coming back on that one day I had over 50 people start on me, including dog walkers, people from cars, thinking I'm a sick bastard and getting nasty with me, or giving me that dodgy look, or saying something, or rather just getting out of the woodland to go to the main road, to the bottom of the road. And then the rough people on the council estate, or if it is a council estate, a lot of those are private as well, and people were giving me trouble from private places, were in their bedroom windows saying stuff as well. But it's like they have no idea who you are. It's like they've been chipped, or they've been told information to come to the window to say it before you even get there, to go, how's that happening? Anyway, I made it past the bakery, and I made it to the the bus stop. Then I had a load of people in cars passing on that main road, because there was a load of setups, the heaviest setups on record in fact, almost every single day. And obviously the library was no longer in use. I couldn't go into the library to do what I needed to do, because the library was no longer in use, and they've changed the destination. They closed it down, or they've done something where that library wasn't open. So that's at North Peverton. However, before I moved to Yeovil, I was camping in North Peverton, and the setups were not as heavy as what they were, nor the threats. But then again, since the lockdown, they have stepped up all this action, 4 times heavier, 4 times more malicious, and the actual setups itself are a lot more far-fetched than what they used to be, even though the setups of the past are really negative and really nasty. I mean, I mentioned this on many different documentaries that I've done, and the setups were calming down on me. In that last year before the lockdown, I was walking into sexual people as young as their teens, actually smiling at me as they passed. I was actually seeing people with 30-year age gaps in sexual relationships and kissing, and I thought, I've not seen this before, and they were making the suggestion that I paid the price for all the crimes of sexuality, including Sadie and Stephanie. But the problem is, I've never had sex with those 2 people, so it annoyed me a little bit, on the principle that they said I've paid the price with this setup, and saying you're going to have to go with people in their 30s, or we're applying that we messed it up a little bit, that you can't have a sexy type person completely, a soft skin or whatever. So they made the suggestion that you're going to have to go with someone a little bit older. But the problem is, they also admitted before we went into the lockdown that I've never had sex with Sadie, and that what I was saying is all true. But when we went into that lockdown, all this organised force was reconstructed around me, and it was a lot more nasty and malicious than before. And just before the lockdown, they were also making the suggestion that I paid the price for writing one of the most scariest things I ever writ, which I got in trouble for the police with years ago. I haven't done it since, obviously, But because there's so many bad problems, I ripped bomb Hinkley Point Power Station graffiti on the path, and obviously I got in serious trouble for it. But the police said they were more concerned about my life than arresting me. So obviously I was arrested. I can't remember what happened, whether I was fined or whatever, but I think I was, obviously. But they just said, out of everything you can write, don't write that. So I haven't written it again, obviously. So you had that, and the police were hoping that my life would get a bit better as well, and saying just enjoy life, and whatever you do, don't do that, because we're concerned about you. Obviously they said that. Obviously they're not, in reality, but they got to show some form of sympathy and some form of love, liking, as it goes in merit, to that, to the police. However, in the past, if we go back when I was living at my old place in the earlier days, I was actually punched in the head by a police officer, because obviously he arrested me, and he wasn't very happy. No, obviously I never reported him for that, because I let it go. I wasn't happy about it, but I didn't want to go through all the hassle of causing trouble for the police, because it's not a good organisation to cause trouble for. And obviously I was been arrested for, Actually, there's one time at Bridgewater Fair, I can't remember what year it was, but it would have been 2010, 2011 or before that, where a lady in her teens asked me if I was single. And I said, I've got to go back to mine because I need the loo a minute, would you wait there? And unfortunately, there was a piece of paper I left outside, and it had a whole load of threats on it and trouble from people, whatever they cause. And the police followed me into my place, and they needed to arrest me. And after, saying that I need to go to the police station on Monday, or whatever day it was after the fair, by the time I did all that, and the time I went back outside, it was too late to meet up with that lady, because she went on. But, we all had this sort of problem in our lives, unfortunately. With me, I'm 43, coming up 44, and I've not had my first girlfriend yet. I stopped having clairvoyant readings as well, because a lot of these clairvoyant readings seem to be very false. So initially they go in a positive direction, so they're predicting things right, and then the girlfriend part fails, if you want to call it that. I don't know what you want to use, what definition or term you want to use, and then it just goes into an outright nasty force around you, with a whole load of trouble after that, when it fails the girlfriend part. So that's what's making me wonder whether it's caused by demons that they're communicating with to give these readings. The nearest possibility of any I wouldn't say partners as such, but interactions of any suggestions a clairvoyant has given me is when I walked out of a charity shop. I think it's a charity shop, I'm not sure, and I walked into this lady that looks like Kirsty Burke, Burke, who's a YouTube user that complained about Christianity. And it's just a look-alike to her, same type of smooth skin, same type of age at the time that was. However, I don't know that for sure, because she worked in WH Smith's when I was ordering Jungle CDs that were deleted out of stock at the supplier or no longer available. And I've always sort of, in recent times, thinking that she's 10 years younger than me. But then I had that thought that she worked in WH Smith's, and then I thought to myself, hang on a minute, well, I was only a kid myself. I was 15, 16 when I was ordering these CDs, and she was in a job working, so, maybe she was a lot older and just had that appearance where she looked younger. So I only clicked onto that about 5 years or so ago, and then I realised, I thought, hang on a minute, I forgot about that, So, but either way, what happened is she said sorry no as I walked out the shop, and that was when Sue Hug Clairvoyant predicted that I need to speak to her. But before I had chance to even have any conversation, two bearded people, and because it was just in the time period where the Savem threat came in, and I was being mistaken as that person, hell broke loose, and obviously it turned her against me, and then obviously I had to get out of the area quickly. Although these people were a lot younger than me, these bearded people, mistaking me as that person, I didn't want to take the risk of what was going on, and there's too many people in the Burnham-on-Sea, Bridgewater area who are mistaking me as that person. Even Glastonbury Street in Wales is a risk. I get many people mistake me as that person. I don't know who this person is, but apparently he listens to a different kind of music than what I listen to. So he's listening to guitar music, or he's into country and western and jazz and rock or whatever, which is complete opposite to what I listen to. I mean, I have a varied type of music these days, especially in the last 2 years, but my music used to be centred in the underground jungle scene, and I used to like the 1993 and 1994 underground deep jungle tracks, and possibly some of the darker tracks, though I was mostly into the deep stuff like the Jungle Techno series, the Jungle Business, the drum and bass 40 Floor Burners and the Hard Leaders series and stuff like that. And then 2019 I sort of got into the dark ambient stuff. I've liked dark ambient, I always have, but I got into the Cryo Chamber Records because they released it on CD, and the very first track I heard of was Eschatology by Atrium Carceri and Camerite, or something about, I can't remember what the artist was, but you had that as well, and I got into that. As it stands today though, especially since I've been on holiday and seen my brother, it's a lot different altogether, because I'm going back to the sort of family music that I used to love, you know, before I got on the train to go to see my brother. So I love stuff like Toto, Africa. I mean, singing that in the bar while pissed was literally a memory. I really, really loved that. I'd do it again, I would, but I'm never going to get to a point where I drink that much while I'm on my own. There's just too much memories, and I really, really loved that. That Toto Africa track, I gotta say, I loved that track even before I was singing it while on holiday with my brother. I mean, that is a classic track. That is a 10 out of 10 tune, and it's also one of my best tracks before I was singing it on holiday with my brother, on the holiday we just had. I mean, I've always liked that track. But singing that with my brother, that track has probably topped it over Ultravox Vienna, which was my previous favourite 80s track that came out in 1981. I mean, there are a lot of tracks that I like, but you cannot beat the oldies. And I mean, I've been into like the jungle scene, I like new age, I like dark ambient, but when it comes to that track, that's definitely a family track, you know, that Toto Africa, that's at the top of my faves out of everything, because obviously the holiday I just had and me singing it with my brother, love it, absolutely love it. I want to reveal a few other things that have occurred, and this happened mostly in 2022 and before, but I never really went deep into it, and I never really put it on the internet, because this is something that is very is something that you're not really supposed to say about that, but they were making the suggestion of a specific staff worker. It's the one I had a dream about earlier, so you have to go through the whole video if you want to watch it and find out. So I went into the staff office going back in the early days of when she was working there, and I just brought up in conversation saying that you know, sort of, you know, sexy age, you know, sexy people, what ages or whatever, but obviously back at that time I thought it wouldn't be a problem, even though I was, you know, 40 or whatever it was, 41, and I thought it's not that old, 41, you know, sort of. And obviously Mark, a previous neighbour, he's actually spoken to that lady as well, and you know, he's older than me, and he was saying, yeah, she's alright, she's an 18 or whatever, talking about somebody, I can't remember who it was, possibly a celebrity, and saying, whoa, she's really sexy, so if I had my chance I'd have my days, you know, I'd be happy, and sort of laughed and giggled, you know. He was quite a friendly chap actually, that Mark. He had his, you know, his disabilities. He liked singing loud in the garden, but he was actually not a bad chap. I mean, I don't know what's happened to him, or where he's gone to, or whatever, or whether he's still around now, but you know. When it came to this specific staff worker, I was thinking to myself, well, for goodness sake, you're over the age of 16, and you've got to take into account 25 years ago that people my age today would try and get with people 15 or 16. So I thought, right, yeah, it's a bit bad, you know, 15 or 16, but it's not too much of a problem because 16's legal, or it was back in those days. And then I thought 18, yeah, 18 for people that prefer a slightly older woman, and 21 for someone that's a bit older, like a respectable age for someone in their 40s that can go with, you know, if they reach that age. And then I sort of thought 25. And when she told me that, don't you mean pretty, not sexy, you know, and I thought, you know, I can't remember what she was. I think she was around about that age, 25 at the time. I thought, it's sort of, I was gutted a bit, to be fair. I thought, well, I've not had anyone in my whole life, and I thought to myself, if you were born 20 years before, or the same age back then, that wouldn't have been a problem. Even 10 years younger and early. Because these people were getting off with people 15, 16 in sexual relationships, and they were single mothers by the end of 16. You know, it wasn't seen as a problem. All these happy hardcore people that are listening to the crappy rave stuff, I mean, I'm not really keen on that, because I see it as like headbanging music, or it just sounds stupid. Well, I like some of it. Obviously, some of it's played a part in my life, but when it came to this staff work, I thought, what's going on? You know, this has changed, hasn't it? I thought, it never used to be like this, and I thought, this is 10 years on top of the age when people used to get off with people. And I thought to myself, also, people are older than me that were getting off with people at the age of 16, and even today, at the age I am today. Well, let's look at Sid James from the Carry On films, or Barbara Windsor. I mean, he was in his 50s, 60s, or whatever it was, and she just turned 16, and a sexual relation took place between the both of them, and it wasn't a problem. And I thought to myself, even if there was a slightly lower, you know, not a lower, you know, a slightly closed age gap where there's not so much difference in age, but you know, people have changed. It's unbelievable. But what I'm bringing this up for is because the setups thought my life was going to change. And this is not Grace or a neighbour. This, like I said, this is a staff worker, and they were sort of making the suggestion that your life's going to change. Use your fucking head. You can't use your head, because these people are brainwashed into thinking that you shouldn't be going with anyone unless if there's more than a 2-year age gap, or telling you should be going with skin that looks like sick off the floor, or a skin that looks like it's infected with shingles, or you know, all that sort of thing. So obviously I haven't turned against this person, and obviously I'm happy with this person, I'm polite, but when it comes to sexuality or suggestions in that field, then obviously it's beyond belief how they've twisted everyone's mind, you know. So, but never mind, you know, although they were suggesting that, I didn't have that urge. I thought to myself initially, it's not going to work in that way if you were to, you know, go into a sexual relationship. I thought to myself, when it comes to sort of people like this, they're there for the money, you know, and they might like you, they might not like you, depending on your age, obviously, nowadays, because things have changed. But then obviously, so I was sort of thinking, when these setups were occurring, all this suggestion or force around me was coming out in this sort of way to say that you're stupid, how thick can you fucking get, you know, do it, ask her, you know, in sort of setups, you think you can't do what the setups are suggesting. But then again, if we go off that subject, because it's irrelevant now, because I want to move on to Gemma, the setups, even with Gemma Ferguson, which I mentioned going back, I saw her in the middle of the lockdown. We went into a lockdown, I saw her on a regular basis on the beach. Me and her, that was all we ever saw. And then you had the other person who's a bit younger, but more drier looking skin, and obviously this other person, I don't know what her name is, but she wasn't as attractive. But she was a single mother of 3, and it's a possibility she could have had the same name as Gemma, and I think they were trying to throw me off to try and pushed me to go to that with that person instead of the other. But the thing is, that person's in a sexual relationship. But then again, Gemma could have been, I don't know. Either way, she said alright on many occasions. But when I left that note in that charity shop, and you know, it's enclosed, it wasn't there for people to read, it's private. She phoned me up saying, "You're 40 fucking years of age. You sad cunt. You're preying on a lady that's 29 or 30 years of age. How fucking sad can you get?" She started all that. She threatened to phone the police on me, said, "If you ever come past this shop ever again, you're being reported to police and I'm gonna have you fucking down." And she said, "Don't ever fucking ever leave anything in that shop again, saying you're just a sick bastard, a sad bastard, and you're saying you're preying on a woman 30 years of age or 29 years of age when you're fucking 40 or just turned 40 or whatever it was when I left." And she said, "You're sick as fuck," and she said, "You just landed your whole life in fucking peril." And then obviously it goes back to the possibility that she could be linked to the person that wanted to attack me and smash me to pieces on Highbridge railway track and to knife me, who met me up with me in Bridgewater, though that could be a completely different thing altogether. And I thought to myself, this is not good. But it gets even better, because when my parents were together before they split up, it would be exactly the same age gap as if I was with Gemma. That's what I mean. It's like it, you know, it's impossible now. People are changed, people are different. But it doesn't go down very well, because obviously I've had threats by people telling me I'm a sad bastard, and they're with people in their early 20s or late teens, mostly early 20s, and they're nearly my age or older. And you think to yourself, and that's even recent times, not last year or this year, but the year before I've seen it. And I think to myself, but why am I being put down sick? And I've not had anyone in my whole life. So, you know, it's all crooked, it's all buggered up, it's all like that, you know. But there's nothing you can do about it, because, you know, it's just the way people are. I mean, I've got to stay out now, and this started last year because of the burning problem, so obviously I can't stay at my place. I mean, we had the eye problem when I was living at Burnham-on-Sea before I moved to Yeovil, and that's why they moved me, because I was camping because of the eye problem. But now we've got that 2 days in a row now. 45-minute spawn day, a 10-minute period yesterday, last night should I say, followed by another 10-minute period about an hour later, 10-minute period again, and then a 20-minute period. You know, you can't win. And obviously, when it comes to sexuality, you just got to find that one that's going to allow the age gap or allow this or that. But it's not always about age, because there are some people that are older than me that have smoother skin than what Gemma has, or whatever people have, even when they're in their teens. It's more about compatibility, whether that person's a nice person, whether they're sexual people. But the problem is, many people are being born with that dry and sarcastic, sour look, and developing that ugly negative skin attraction, where if you go back to the 1990s or the 1980s, people where they sort of age or look like they're fucking 50 at the age of 25 seems to be very frequent. But if you go to other countries, then obviously they hold their looks. I accidentally rang Thorn House, which is where I live, because what I'm doing is I'm using the torch to see what I'm doing, to have that bit of vodka before I walk on back. Sometimes I go to the little designated air raid shelter, shed, or whatever you want to call it, but I tend to find that's quite boring. It just looks like a dump, so obviously I'm going to avoid that, and I wanted to do that recording, you see, so that's all complete. The digital audio recording device is fucking up, so I can't delete some videos or do anything. It's just buckling up, so everything I do, I can only push record to do the next video. So everything that's needs deleting or whatever, I can't do that. It's just stuck on there, so I'm a bit pissed off by that, because obviously you shouldn't be doing it. Right, so obviously there's also been a couple of cars that have passed, but they were before I got under the bridge to go back down here. And obviously they want to choke me out with a catalytic converter, even though I got the flu. So obviously I'm going to have to put up with it. I can't say much, because The digital audio recorder's cursed, it's black magic. There's nothing you can do about it. The creator's fucked. The creator's an evil bastard. The creator's going to cause as much fucking mayhem. Oh yeah, trip me up into the fucking path. The bastard's cruel. There's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, where's this sex that you want to curse me with, Christ? The suggestion of sex all fucking day. Well, nothing's come of it yet, has it? Right, so I've reached the road and I'm forced to cross because I'm not in the mood for a catalytic converter control. This year, 2025, and last year, 2024, there was no positive news or no good suggestions or no women that made any good suggestions to apply. Do you fancy chatting or anything like that? They were very negative years out of every other year in the past, apart from yesterday, where an Olivia Binfield lookalite, who's the celebrity that went on Britain's Got Talent with a snake, obviously is a lookalite, but as she looks today, you know, as an adult today, where she did like a smile at me, and that's it for this year. In 2024 you didn't have anything. It was 2023 the last time any happy suggestions or suggestions like that occurred, but most of it's before mid 2023 if I remember. I don't know if you've heard of the celebrity Holly Still, but she hit the age of 16, right? And there was some form of suggestion, but the problem is I can't mention or say anything that I want to say because it will upset these people that mentioned it. And they were hinting or making the suggestion that at the age I was, even though I was a lot older, that would be fine. And I'm not making that up. Obviously, they didn't realise that in the time we're living in, they don't allow these different age gaps. Because obviously this person, well, like I said, I can't say because I don't want to cause issues, but that suggestion was applied. But then again, you've got to take into account there was another issue where another person was in a sexual relationship with a massive age gap, and they saw me. No, this person knew that I've never had anyone, and this person's had like a feel sorry, but they thought it was normal. They thought that's not a problem. But you've got to take into account today it is. Not on my point of view, I have no problem with whatever, but you've got to take into account, you've got to go by what other people, you know, their minds are a bit warped, possibly because of what the media, music industry or TV industry is applying. And obviously you've got to take into account, people don't think they're an adult until they're 30 today, because they're being brainwashed, where they're changing the age of what age you've got to be to buy alcohol, to buy fags or whatever, when in Victorian times even a child could buy alcohol or cigarettes. So, you know, it's different. Right, so I've got a few loud bike issues. I can't delete any of the recordings, so anything I record now has to go on the video of today's problems, because the digital audio recorder is playing up. I have noticed the graffiti's been wiped off, so yesterday I came onto this road and there was a dumper truck timed, but before that I noticed that on the wooden planks there was some professional graffiti. So what I mean by that is it's not graffiti that's done by a thug, or if it is, it's done by someone who's experienced in designing, doing pictures or making graffiti very nice. I can't remember the exact wording because it's a different day now, but it was something like, the police are guarding your ass, Sven, be careful. It was something like that. With that graffiti I forgot to photograph last night before I went back to my place. Well, I can't photograph it because obviously it's been wiped off. You just got a smudge that was not even that. Whatever they used, they managed to clear it up near enough completely. So obviously I can get a picture of that, but I need to do it tomorrow, you know, in the daylight, so that you can see you know what's gone on. Normally I wouldn't moan about graffiti like that, you know, because Sven's not my name, Liam's not my name or anything like that, but because I'm mistaken as that specific person, then obviously you've got to take into account that I got to involve this bit of graffiti that I saw yesterday. This time yesterday, I'm walking onto the track now where Jack the Treacle Eater is. So initially, firstly there was a loud bike tying to an erection, and then I got to the next tree just up here, and then obviously there was another one. As I got around that corner, that's when that motorbike was in my direction, and where we had issues there. But although it was quite a creepy experience, the person on the bike did actually shout in temper, "It's not your fault, you fucking stupid." What does he say? "You stupid twat," or something like that. And then obviously he passed saying something about glass or smashed glass. And then obviously he went on. So obviously he stopped to give me a sort of look. It was an evil look initially. He had a female on the back. It was like a Kawasaki looking bike, green colour, so very similar to what my brother used to, you know. But like I said, there was no problems. However, Sadie was mentioned before he actually arrived and passed me. You know, but the problem is I've never had sex with Sadie. But anyway, that was yesterday. That's already been mentioned, it's on the previous video. But tonight seems pretty calm. Actually, there's not many setups tonight. Actually, there's not been many setups for most of the day. It's actually been quite a calm day. Obviously, you've had the catalytic converter setups or the sectoral setups and a few setups at the roundabout in both directions. But all in all, today's actually been quite a good day. You've had quite a lot of positive suggestions as well. Like, you're going to get sex tonight, or sex. Oh shit, I fucking slept down on that. Yes, it's because of the rain, that's what's happened. Well, yeah, so God wants me to slip all over the fucking place, hang on. And it's not because I've had a couple of alcoholic vodkas, that's just because it's very slippery in general. And I forgot it's been raining and all that, so yeah. Yeah, today's setups has been basically to tell me that, well, it was yesterday as well in some ways. I was losing my temper yesterday because I was more ill yesterday because the flu symptoms worsened. Today the flu symptoms are slightly better, but the taste and smell is still as bad as what it was yesterday. Initially it was worse when I woke up this morning, but that could be because I was drinking a lot of beer and, you know, these vodka shots or whatever, and smoking a lot to get a nicotine rush, as they call it. Well, I wouldn't say it's a nicotine rush, I just fancy smoking a lot. You know, last night I was actually enjoying myself. I was, had the music on, you know, because the new neighbour wasn't underneath, and I thought, why not listen to a bloody bit of music? Come on, the burning's bad, the eye problem's bad, fuck's sake. Just put some music on. I thought, I've got to fucking play some music for an hour. And I ended up going to bed about 2:10, something like that. And then obviously I woke up with a hangover. So I was playing stuff like Eminem, just typing in his latest tracks, you know, see what hip hop he's got out these days. I played Drax 2 for a few minutes or less than that, which is Amphetamine, the Miss Jar and Groovehead remix. Went on to Billy Nasty, Love of Life Master mix, June 96, because there's a specific track I love on that fucking mix, because I used to have the tape many years ago when I was a child, and it's a track that goes, what a struggle them, and it's sort of got that sort of and it's got like a good beat, and it just sounds a good track, and just like that specific track. And then obviously I was playing CJ Bolland, The Prophet, which is taken from a Jesus Christ documentary of Jesus in life, and then obviously it says something like this: you think God belongs only to you, he doesn't. God is an immortal spirit that loves everybody, to the whole world. You think you're special, he doesn't. So, you know, it's on the same tape, but it's on the B side of that tape. And I used to have the tape, because going back to the 1990s, what happened was is you had these Love of Life master mixes, and you had like Boy George, because Boy George, like the house scene, Tony DeVee, Paul Oakenfold, Billy Nasty, and you had, you know, drum and bass DJs as well, like, or happy hardcore, like Clarky, DJ Cy, Hard and Fast. Although I never had that tape. It's one I wanted to get though, because Hard and Fast sounds really sort of like you want to buy it, you know, but I didn't get it in the end. Obviously you had DJ Randall, Top Buzz, Kenny Ken, Ratty, Pesce, LTJ Bookham, DJ Rap, Intelligent Jungle, King of the Jungle, whatever it was. You had loads of those tapes. Even in HMV they had like a special slot in the back of the shop where you could buy these sorts of live recording, you know, live mixes. And obviously going back, but I'm a little bit surprised actually that Our Price and HMV and all that sold those tapes, because you've got to have some legal issues, because you can't sell illegal music in places like HMV, Virgin Records or Our Price. So that shocks me a little bit. So it must be legal, those live recordings, to some extent, to be sold in those places. However, a lot of the tapes that I used to buy were in side lane record shops, where it's mostly vinyl. And it's like buying the Dance Trance mixtapes, you know. You didn't get them in HMV or Our Price or anything like that. But you had the same manufacturer or same distributor that was selling the stuff from late 1995 onwards in those types, you know, those types of shops. And then later on it went into like Westfest, Radical Technology, North, Helter Skelter continued to go on, Dreamscape died out. But you know, so you have had these sorts of illegal, or what I call illegal, they might not be illegal, but the stuff, if you go back to 1993 and 1994, there's definitely some very unusual, very underground and you know, cultic sounding rave and jungle mixes, even if they're not illegal. However, it's going to make no difference anyway, because all those illegal rave mixes or illegal jungle mixes, I haven't got one illegal jungle mix whatsoever. What happened to that, yeah, is the hard drive, and this wasn't done by Energy Weapons, this was a mistake by me. I saved the wrong folder onto the drives, and I lost all my music, all the live recordings, and obviously I found out I couldn't get them back. So I thought, well, I'll YouTube them, and I thought to myself, I can't bloody be bothered. So in the end I just sort of kept legal tracks, so it's sort of commercial deep. So that's what they tell me, the DJs, they say I'm into commercial deep. So I just basically was saving the underground tracks that have passed through the net. They've got onto jungle compilations that you could buy in HMV Our Price that are officially released, because that's what they did back in the 1990s. You could get the occasional underground track that's past the net, which means it's past authority to be released on that album, so that the jungle listener that wants the underground track is able to get a track that sounds underground, where they can legally buy it on a legal jungle compilation. It's like the Points in Time series, Good Looking Records. I mean, the first track on Points in Time 1, you think to yourself, that's an underground track to start with, and it's Dope Travelling Part 2, Good Looking Records, you know, and that's a really good underground track. And then you've got LTJ Bookham 19.5, which is another good track, followed by PFM, The Western Tune. It's a good track, but the thing is, that track's had some bad memories, because it's reminded me of Amy Weston, and I was thinking to myself back in 2000 or the early 2000s that I'm suffering for a fuck, never had sex in my life and fancied Amy. And obviously you think to yourself, well, it's 25 years later, I still haven't had anyone, and it's too late for that person anyway, because she's a single mother, she's gone into negative attraction in the last couple of years, and she doesn't like me, and there's no one that can help me or whatever. So she looked like Gabby Borges, the American actress, singer, or whatever you want to call it. However, because Amy was one of those really sexy types of people, before she got with that bloke, or in a relationship with that bloke who worked at the petrol station down Old Taunton Road or whatever it was, she has actually helped a lot of people sexually who have been suffering for a fuck, especially those happy hardcore thugs or whatever. I don't have to put it in that term, but basically that's what it means. And obviously she would have had the skin of Gabby Borges when she was about the age of 11, but in an adult. So you can see what I mean, that she turns most men on. I mean, you don't have to go with a person that's sexual to enjoy sex, you know, with smooth skin to that extent. But, you know, when someone looks like that, you know, men are not going to turn that type down. And obviously she's been in a relationship with many people. So it's not my right to say who she's been with or what she's been with or how many she's been with or how many friends she had on her old Facebook account back in 2011, you know, like 5,000 or whatever. But let's just say she's helped many people, which is good, you know. I mean, there's possibly people that are suffering, they need sex, they haven't had sex all their life, and well, most of them have, because the type of people that she hangs around with. But obviously it'd be wrong for me to say anything else. And also I've been in trouble with the police in the past for documenting stuff like setups with her name on it, and because I'm mentally disabled with autism and she doesn't really like me, then obviously she nearly ended me up in jail. And obviously I told the police some issues, and obviously they managed to sort it out and said don't put anything on there, or trying to avoid causing trouble, and they're trying to explain to Amy this situation of what you're talking about. Anyway, going back to the Points in Time series, Good Looking Records, I might as well tell you what the best tracks are on the Good Looking Records series. And you've got to take into account this is quite a commercial series. It's not commercial today, but I've seen it in Glastonbury, and I bought it in Glastonbury. There was a music shop and I bought it new. Actually, to tell the truth, I bought the Jungle Technos from there, Jungle Techno 5, and it's one of the ones I've been looking for many years, because I had to buy Stage 1000's file copy off the internet in 2003, because I used to love that Rough with a Smooth Twisted Girl basement record track. Although it was only 5 minutes long on the CD, there are some really good tracks on that Jungle Techno, and obviously later on I managed to get more of those, though today I don't really listen to it as such. I mean, a lot of the music I used to listen to, I've sort of died out. I've sort of gone into the stuff that I used to listen to. Toto, Africa, I mentioned it earlier. I've gone back into family music. I mean, I like it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it if I lost a track. If I lose a track, I've lost a track. I mean, there's just so many good tracks. I mean, you don't have to be stuck. Your nose doesn't need to be stuck into the underground scene. There are many types of music. I mean, what my dad plays in his car, you know. So if I did ever lose all my jungle music, which most of it's lost anyway, because of energy weapons, if you want to call it that, or whatever, wiped off hard drives or broken CDs, or, I mean, I got to put it down to that because it seems very suspicious. But you know, even the dark ambient, I have hardly any of that. You know, it's sort of, what? No. I thought it was a puddle. It looked like a puddle. It wasn't. That's right then. You know, so there's a lot of tracks that I've lost. You know, but you've got to take into account. I was doing a documentary just a couple of days ago, maybe a bit more than a couple of days ago, explaining that you don't have to listen to underground music. There's always alternative music, and there's music that you like as an alternative. And obviously, one specific track that I used to like was Ultravox Vienna. But since I've been on holiday with my brother and I was singing in the bar to Toto Africa, you've got to top that out of everything. I mean, that's a family track, I really love that. And I like the track already before that. And also, it's one of my better tracks as well. It's like a 10 out of 10 track before I even started singing to that track. So, you know, it's like that. So a lot of the music I listen to at the moment is mostly that. But let me give you a rundown of the Points in Time series on Good Looking Records. Firstly, we'll go to Looking Back Volume 3. I went to the Isle of Wight on holiday with my mum. It was a time when my brother couldn't come down, and I sort of enjoyed some time on holiday with my mum. When I came back from the holiday, I was listening to a drum and bass mix, and I got caught into this track called Poseidon, Tensions as a Sea, which is on Looking Back Volume 3, Good Looking Records. So that's sort of one of my first sort of tracks. I thought, this is a holiday track. This track reminds me of the holiday I just had. And obviously it sort of grew on me, and I thought, I'm going to have to accept this as being a really good track. So, yeah, although it's underground, I mean, there are other tracks as well, but, you know, there are many tracks that have been played in these sorts of places like, George Ezra, Shotgun, and you had Baby Shark, you know. Although it's a kid's tune, it's sort of a memory, you know, it sort of reminds you of these holidays or whatever. Anyway, Points in Time 1, you've got Dope Travelling Part 2, which is the first track, LTJ Buckham and Pesce 19.5, the original version. That's on Dan Strand's Randall Mission Control, by the way, near the end of the tape, before Scan Chainsaw, whichever the track title's called. Then you've got PFM, the Western Tune, and obviously, like I said, it suggests Amy, so it's a bit of a bad one. That I do like the track, but the problem is because it suggested Amy and what I mentioned, you know, it goes against me. But you can skip that track. And towards the end of the disc, you've got who is it? Artemis, Eliasm Fields, or something like that. And then you've got Source Direct, or what's it called? Secret Liaison, and they're really good tracks. And then when you get to Points in Time 2, I can't remember the tracks in order, but you've got, what have you got? The Invisible Man, the Bell Tune, Pesce, the piano tune. I think LTJ Buckham Atlantis is on there as well, I Need You. I'm not sure. It's not one I listen to very often, however it's not a bad track. And then obviously you've got Intense, Careless Minds, which is a good track. Moving on to Points in Time Volume 3, which is green CD. My favourite track on there is Universal Live Session. But you do have LTJ Buckham and Taylor, Bang the Drums, I think that is on that one. LTJ Buckham and Pesce 19.5 Reprisal. Obviously there's other tracks as well, but I'm referring to the more better tracks, the more sort of jungly tracks, I guess, because there's a lot of drum and bass on there. I mean, it depends what people are into. What else is on there? I'm trying to think now. Can't remember. Anyway, let's go to Points in Time 4. You've got LTJ Buckham Rainfall as the first track, and then you've got a really good track. This is actually quite a rare groove track, actually. There's not one you expect to be on CD format, in fact, but obviously it managed to pass through the net, and it got licensed, and it became commercial. And that's Parallel World, Contagious, on Good Looking Records. You also had, I think you had the Tone Tune on there by the Invisible Man, which is connected to the Bell Tune, but the flip side of it. It's not as good as the Bell Tune, but it's not a bad track. And Appaloosa Night Train, is it as on there? I can't remember. Or is that another Points in Time? Anyway, let's get to Points in Time 5. I get confused from now onwards because I've not seen the track listings on those for a long time. So actually you've got Seba and Low Tech, So Long, LTJ Bookham music. I think that's on the orange one, the Points in Time 5. Then you've got the red one, you've got the grey one. The grey one, if I remember, was pretty I don't recall there being sort of jungle tracks on that one. It's just sort of drum and bass. And then obviously you've got stuff like on those other ones like PhD and Comrade or something like that, loop progression. What else? What else was on there? Intense, Positive Notions, I think that's on the Points in Time 7. Then you had a couple of jungle tracks in there, but they were sort of very basic and sort of made simple, cheap, done in one day just to put on the fucking album. So they weren't really, you know, a bit of distorted aiming, you know. But you know, the Points in Time up to about number 4 or 5, they had some really good tracks on there. Oh, the Invisible Man, Stormlands, or whatever it's called, where it says, if I have to go, and you know, when God calls me home, which is said at the end of that track. I mean, that's not a bad track, but obviously when it comes to the later Points and Times, there wasn't really that much, to be fair. That was great, but obviously the first 4 in particular were really good. You know, the sort of all old school stuff, and stuff that was produced back in the 90s. Right, so there's been a sexual car on the road below. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of setups. Actually, that road seems quite quiet for a Friday night. Anyway, when it comes to the Points in Time series, I've just reordered some Points in Times, because obviously, you know, I used to listen to that sort of music, and obviously the recording quality is not crap like it is with, say, the stuff that come out in 1994. And it's slightly more fresher, the tracks that are on there, so it's not like that deep, symbolical, moody, cheaply made sounds where they mix other samples and slow it down to make it sound all fucking mangled. Now, I do like that stuff, I used to like that stuff, but the thing is, you know, a lot of stuff, it is pretty negative, and it is pretty moody, and it is simply made, you know, it's, you know, I've known this. I've always sort of kind of known this, in recent times especially. So when people insult it, you're thinking to yourself, or saying that it's cheap and it's fucking done in this way, or it's mangled shit, you know. In some ways, I'm thinking to myself, yes, they are right, you know. But that's how they were doing it back then. So I do actually prefer some fresher sounds now and again, and the Points in Time, it's just that, there's a lot of good tracks on those Points in Time series, especially when it comes to the old school stuff. And obviously you've got LTJ Bookham's producer CD as well, and obviously he did LTJ Bookham's The Demons theme, which again is a really good track. PFM did a track called Wash Over Me, I forgot about that one. I think that's on Points in Time too, number 2, yeah. So it's also on Jungle Vibes too, because I used to have the CD Jungle Vibes too. My favourite track on there was Omni Trio Torn. So that wasn't a bad CD though, it's mostly for those 2 tracks. The other tracks seem to be a bit more sort of flat, because I like a bit of good sound. And obviously, I mean, if it wasn't for the Randall tape, or me buying those Dance Trance tapes back in the days when I was buying the really deep, moody jungle mixes, I wouldn't really be into that stuff. I'd be into the more happier sort of type of jungle. But because I got myself into that and went straight into the deep stuff when I was 12, coming up 13, I think that is a part to play of why I like the specialised tracks in particular. However, in recent times, you know, I've not really listened to jungle at all. I've been more into sort of family music, or going back to the original roots, because obviously I respect family. I mean, I've liked it for many years, but you feel that the times come where it's sort of, you're going off of it, you just, I think I was to be speaking to my brother before I came back, and I was saying these tracks, and I said there's some tracks, or was it Peter, or one or two, it could have been one of the neighbours, Peter, and I thought to myself, these tracks I liked them years ago, I liked them, say, 25 years ago, and for like 24 years, I've never gone back to that track, I've never liked it again. You think to yourself, and you sort of, it's like that. So you know, it's always good to have a second category. So if you're into any music, have a backup category, so that if the music goes, or the original DAT tapes are destroyed, or you can't get your music anymore, you've always got like an alternative music. You've got to take into account that when people get into music anyway, it's through the pop scene initially anyway. So you like the original stuff that's in the pop scene before you go into the underground stuff. So, you know, for most people. So, you know, there's no loss. Just in case you decide to buy a second-hand copy of any of the good-looking record CDs, when it comes to Looking Back, which is like a series similar to Points in Time, you will find that, to my knowledge, it's only Looking Back Volume 3 that has the sort of jungle tracks on it, which has the track Poseidon, Tensions as a Sea. I think all the rest in that series are just drum and bass, but a lot of people prefer drum and bass, so it's not going to matter. But if you're one that's into like the jungly type of sound, or the aim and break, then I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's just Poseidon, Tensions of the Sea on Looking Back Volume 3. 9 cars on that lot. So I'm being choked up by a catalyst. There's a bunch of erections. Couldn't have one step back there. It'll like be cutting your hands with fucking glass sort of accent.